Okay. Okay. Do you want to start it off?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, guys, I think we're going to get started in the interest of time. So we're going to do a really quick overview didactic, and then we're going to try to make this really interactive. So once we do this didactic, we're going to ask people to kind of cohort into groups of either like research focus or education focus or like clinical administrative. And we'll have different groups. All of our leaders are up here in the front, and we're going to kind of go through some actual letters and have you guys critique them and learn a little bit about how to improve letters. And at the very end, we're going to ask people to do elevator pitches within your groups. So start thinking about like things you may want to highlight about yourself. You know, if you really feel strongly, you can always pass, but we're going to try to put people on the spot. And we do understand that's uncomfortable, and we want people to be more comfortable with this. So Dr. Leenellett is going to take it away and talk about some of the science behind writing letters.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Here are our disclosures. And I'm going to talk really fast because I have a lot of stuff to go through before we break down. So as Caroline says, we're going to introduce the concept of how to write your own letter of nomination, which is important for whether you're a medical student or resident going up for an award or for a new job, or a faculty member who's going up for an award or promotion. We'll review some key words and phrases that might introduce bias. We'll do some sample critique letters, and then we'll prepare and practice a short self-promoting statement for when your chair or your dean comes up to you and says, "Hey, what have you been up to recently?" So 5 years ago, a group of female faculty at Cincinnati were talking about the goals of Empower. And at that time, we were thinking, oh, teaching the art of self-promotion and amplifying our accomplishments would be awesome. It would be important not only to build yourself up within your own department, but also externally so that you're recognized as a person of expertise and for exposure for your department in general. But as we thought about it, it was sort of like traversing the Grand Canyon. It seemed awesome, but also unsurmountable and overwhelming. And so even amongst the amazing women that were sitting there, none of us felt comfortable boasting our own feats or accomplishments or suggesting ourselves for award nominations. So we thought, if we can't do it, how are we going to teach other people? And we decided we would do it in two ways. And the first was to start with an awards committee, and then the second was to teach the graceful art of self-promotion, which hopefully you will gain today. So in 2019, the UC Awards Committee with Empower founded an awards committee. And we have submitted over 200 award nominations for our faculty and residents with pretty good ROI there, with over 80 winners on the national, local, and regional level. We were very intentional and proactive about it, and we learned a ton of lessons, of which one of the most important would be that you guys know your own accomplishments better than anyone else, so getting a draft letter of nomination from you makes everything so much easier down the road. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that we just won the 2023 AWAEM Outstanding Department Award this year. All right, so how do we do this? It's very convoluted, it sounds very overwhelming, but really you guys know what you have accomplished and how you might best fit the nomination award criteria. So what we've done in the past is we have you guys write your own nomination draft letter. We put it on a shared drive, and a bunch of us would edit it and make sure that all the elements of the award criteria were addressed before we submitted it. And it was only with practice that we learned how to best showcase our accomplishments. Remember, your first version will probably suck. But you yourself are fabulous, and we can learn a lot from each attempt, and it gets better every single time, and especially if you look back on it critically later or have someone critique it. The route seems very convoluted, but let me break it down for you. So the first thing that I do when I'm writing a letter of nomination is I highlight the key words because I'm going to make sure that I address them. Here is a draft nomination letter. Actually, this is a true nomination letter. As you can see, it's really generic and blah. I don't get the sense that the writer knows the nominee at all, and I have zero sense as to what Dr. X did that qualifies her for the award. There are no specifics, right? The criteria demands evidence of achievements during residency, and this has absolutely none. And this is why it's helpful for you to provide your own draft version of the nomination letter, because you don't want this to happen to you, because you're not going to win with this letter unless you're the only applicant. All right, so everyone says it's so scary, right? It's how do you start? And we would say don't be shy, don't be afraid to ask. Because writing award nomination letters is not usually on people's radar, either for themselves or for other people. But most people are really happy to do so. But busy schedules might get in the way of them writing something really